Well, hey everybody, Pastor Todd here, and I just want to cover a Bible study method that we're going to be using in Thrive Church small groups, but also I hope you could also use it for your own personal devotions. And that Bible study method is called SOAP, and it's an acrostic, and so each letter stands for something. So the S stands for Scripture, the O stands for observation, the A stands for application, and the P stands for prayer. So let me walk through this with you. You should, if you're in a small group, you should have an instruction sheet that I made up that maybe your small group leader has provided for you, and you can look at that later and have it for reference, or maybe you are looking at this right now and you can kind of go through it as I record this video or you're watching the video. So anyway, here's the idea. So you're going to read a section of scripture. So it could be an entire chapter, could be maybe more than one chapter, maybe a little bit less than one chapter, doesn't matter. But the idea is that you are going to ask God to sort of highlight for you 1 to 3 verses maximum. And it's not like if you're in a group, it's not that everybody's going to have the same 3 verses or 1 verse. You're all going to be different. Or maybe you guys will land on some of the same ones. But what I'm saying is it's not going to be dictated to you which verses those are. You're going to read the entire chapter, and then you're going to be asking God, okay, which verses do I need to really focus on? And I would not do more than 3. If you can do 1, I think that's probably the best, but it doesn't matter. It can be 1 to 3. But if you do more than 1, they need to be in consecutive order. So in other words, if it's like 3 verses, it's 7, 8, 9, not 7, 18, and 29, right? It's just all grouped together right there, okay? And that's just important to kind of get focused in. So you're going to pray beforehand, you're going to read the whole chapter, and you're going to be asking God, hey, what do I need to focus on? And it's amazing. Sometimes you'll know the verse because it applies to whatever it is you're going through in your daily life right then and there. Sometimes you don't even know why. Maybe you won't even figure out why you needed that verse until a week later or a month later. But it is important just to kind of take that verse and then you're going to write it out. So you're going to have a journal, probably around this size or so. And I really wouldn't get a big journal. Don't get something that's like the normal 8.5 by 11 size. That's way too big. You don't need to be writing that much. I don't want it to be lengthy. I don't want it to be intimidating for you. Short and sweet, to the point, to be able to kind of get the benefit of this. And again, you can use a Bible, like a physical Bible. That would be great. I would suggest either the New International Version or the New Living Translation, because those are very readable and understandable. But you're going to do that, and then you're going to write out the verse. So like here, I've got the date in my journal. I've got Galatians 1 as the entire chapter that we're reading, just to kind of have reference. And then I'm going to write if this is the verse that was highlighted, so I go S for Scripture, and then Galatians 1:11. And I'm going to run through the whole thing at the end of this explanation for you, but Galatians 1:11 is the verse that I had highlighted for me. And again, you just write that whole thing out. I know that may seem like a very tedious step, but it's important to kind of get it in your mind and into your heart. Okay, so then the next step is your observation. Okay, so that's the O. I just write an O, and then I write out my observation. And your observation is simply, what does it say? What is this verse saying? What are the facts? So facts could be who's writing the verse, who's it being written to, what's the context of what's going on here. Or you can just simply restate what the verse is saying, but you say it in your own words. But the idea here is you're not going to talk about what this reflects about culture or you or anything like that. This is just, what is the verse saying? Okay, observation. Then, after you write that out in your journal, then you're going to go to A, which is application, and then that is where you say, what is this saying to me? So observation is, what does it say? Application is, what is it saying to me? In other words, how am I going to be different? What am I going to do as a result of what I saw in the observation? So a lot of times in my journaling, what I'll do is I'll just put the words I should or I will. Okay, that because it forces me to kind of say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Not what other people are going to do, not what culture should do, but what you should do. You are going to be obedient to what God is telling you to do in the scriptures in your application. Then simply, the last step is the P, which is prayer. And what I do for my prayer is I usually say, Lord, help me blank. Help me carry out what you told me to do in my application. Now, it doesn't have to be that. You can have a prayer, whatever you want. But for me, that's just kind of what I do. So I just say, Lord, help me. So let me give you an example of what this looks like. So on the board here, I've got Galatians 1:11. And so that verse says, I want you to know, brothers, that the gospel I preached is not something that man made up. So here's my observation. The O. Paul had planted the church in Galatia and preached the gospel to the people there. After he left, some of those left behind tried to twist and distort the gospel. Paul is saying they should not do that because the gospel is not man-made. If it was man-made, it would be imperfect, but it is straight from God himself. It should not be altered. And so my application is that I should not add or subtract anything from the gospel when sharing it with other people. It is perfect and can stand on its own. So my prayer, my P, is help me share the pure, perfect gospel with people. All right. So again, I think it's very simple and straightforward way of reading and figuring out what it says and then doing what it says. Very simple and straightforward. It may take you a few sessions to be able to get the full hang of this. It took me a little while. That's okay. But it's new for you, but that's going to be good. So you're going to do it in your groups. But then, like I said, I would encourage you to also do this in your personal devotion. This is what I do for my own personal devotions as well. So hope you enjoy SOAP and enjoy it in your small groups.